Hello code buddies, my name is Gulrez and I am here to teach you coding, especially JavaScript, but with a twist. And the twist lies behind the purpose I created this channel. I mean, let's teach people how to think like a developer so they can stop staring at the blank canvas and can actually build something very meaningful. This way, they would be able to escape tutorial hell, build logic, become the top 1%, and solve real problems. In short, a real Superman developer. Surprisingly, all of this starts with mastering the basics. Do not watch this tutorial with the purpose that you have to build a project. Watch this tutorial with the purpose that you have to learn how everything is working. This is one of the way to avoid tutorial hell and build whatever you can think of. Along the projects that we are building, you are going to get a free source code and code documentation. Let's start.
Let's start the project. Right click, go to new and create a new folder with the name of random user generator. This is the project that we are going to build, and then open with VS Code. If you can't see this option, this is because you have unselected some options while installing the VS Code. So it is better if you reinstall, or you can just open VS Code and go to here and open folder, and you can just select the desired folder. First of all, we are going to make an HTML file. The second one is going to be style.css, where we will write all of our CSS. App.js is going to be the file where we will write our JavaScript. Shift 1, it will give us an exclamatory mark with an Emmet abbreviation. If I press enter, this is the boilerplate of HTML. Move the document and random user generator. Alright, now make sure go to file and this option is selected, so we don't have to manually press Ctrl S every time we make a change in our code. And also, if you can't see this go live button, you can definitely go to extensions and install this live server extension. This will help us not make any kind of, this will show us everything live on the browser. Let's go to the browser. Now you can see random user generator is right here. So we need to, first of all, we are going to make a container, and inside a container we are going to put h1, and the h1 is going to be definitely the name, the top heading actually. The second one is going to be the button, and button is going to have an ID of fetch dash button. It's not 3, it's actually 2. And the button is going to have fetch random user text inside of it. Fetch a random user. As you can see, we have this button. I neither have to press Ctrl S manually because this option is selected, and neither have to refresh the browser in order to see the changes because live server is actually working. And then our user container, basically this is the part where all of the information will be pasted from the API. So I'll just comment user info will be pasted here. Not pasted, but make it inserted here. I go to style. Now I think we can style it a little bit. We're definitely going to start from resetting the manual CSS. As you can see, it has some padding and margin. Let's fix it first. Margin is going to be 0. Padding is going to be 0. And box sizing is going to be 0. Not 0, but border box mistakenly. Apologies for the mistake. Inside the body, let's give it some other font. Urbanist is my favorite font, Simply type Urbanist Google font, and the first link is going to get you here. Go to this one. I already have selected. You can just select and deselect it from here. Go to import. Just copy this link, and we're gonna paste it right here. The font is still not changed. That's because we have not defined it yet. That's because there is no link. We haven't attached the CSS yet. Now you can see the font has been changed. Make sure you link all of the rest of your files with and over here I'll just link my JavaScript file app.js. Yes, now it has been linked. Now for the rest of code, I'll make sure it is display flex, it is justify content center, it is align items center, the height is 100 VH. Okay, the background color is basically, yeah, this is a little darker than pure white. I think this is a beautiful color. Then for container, we are going to, the text align is going to be center, box shadow is going to be 10 pixel, RGBA, red is going to be 0, green is going to be 0, blue is going to be 0, and the alpha is going to be 0.1. Now you can see a little spread right here. If I can zoom it, you can see there is a box shadow behind it. The padding is going to be 30 pixel, the border radius is actually 8 pixel, and the background color, keep it FFF. Now you can see we can differentiate between this background and this one, the entire, this one basically F9 background. Then let's just H1, let's make it hash. Yeah, let's make this button a little beautiful. Let's say fetch button is going to have a padding of 10 pixel, 25 pixel. 10 pixel is basically top bottom and 25 pixel is basically left and right. Looks better. Let's make it display block margin. Let's remove the display block. Cursor would be pointer. Border is going to be none. Border radius is going to be 5 pixel. Background color is going to be hash 00 7B double F 7B double. Wow, looks beautiful. Let's give it some color as well. Let's give it white, FFF better. Let's give it some font size, 16 pixel. Yeah, much better. And transition background point, we'll give transition in the hover effect. What if we give it a margin top of, let's say margin top 10 pixel? Yeah, much better. All right, okay, 16 pixel. And I think we must give it a hover effect as well. Fetch better hover. The background color is going to be, let's make it a little darker. Now you can see. Now give it a transition of 0.3 second. Yeah, it looks perfect. User container, there is going to be a container below it. Okay, so I don't want it to overlap or like just attach with the button, so I'm gonna give it a margin top of 20 pixel. And there is going to be a few more things. Let's just work on them a little later. Let's now move on to our JavaScript part. Make it a little wider so we can see our entire code. Let's start with document dot get element by ID, and the ID is going to be, this one, fetch button, because we want things to happen as soon as we click on this. Okay, so I think we must attach an event listener with this as well. Event listener and event listener can be key up, down, or can be click. And on click, I want to execute a function, and the function is going to be fetch random user. We are going to actually define this function below. Okay, the function is going to be, as we have written it above, fetch random user. Okay, but this is going to be a asynchronous function. What that means, this is going to be an asynchronous function. Now this async means this keyword basically indicates that this function will contain asynchronous operation and can use a way to pause execution while waiting for promises to resolve. Like if there is any delay or anything like that, it can understand and give information to the user or the web page according to the code. If something is late, it's okay, it will come back again. But let's just move on to the next part. It behaves like that. Now there are going to be two parts, try, and the next one is going to be catch. Either of one of them will be true. Let's start with this one. We're going to make another variable with the name of response, and this is basically going to store the value of the user that we are going to get. And now I'm going to use a keyword await, which means we will wait until there is some response from the API, and we will store that information in the response variable. Yeah, the await keyword is used to, like, pause the execution of this function until the fetch operation is complete. Await fetch. The fetch is going to get some information from this API. Let's go to over here and we will type random user API. Okay, so this website and this API basically generates random APIs. So this is the link that you have to copy, random user.me API. Let me zoom in a little bit. We'll paste it right here. Now we will give it a condition. If there is no response from response.ok, response is basically this variable that we have declared. If the property is false, which means the HTTP request was not successful. For example, there can be a network error, or response status code was not in the range, so then it will basically throw an error, and we'll use the keyword throw new error, and the error is going to be use backticks HTTP error, and the status for this is going to be like what error it was it 404, was it 402, or what kind of error. So we will use response dot status. So this is the error that will be shown in case there is nothing fetched from the API. But in case now say const data is equal to await response dot JSON, this means this basically is declaring a variable. So we have declared another variable. So it is called data, and data is going to wait until the response body, until it parses the response body as JSON using the await keyword. It pauses the execution until the JSON data is fully extracted from the response. The parsed JSON is then stored to the data variable. Now let's see what we can do. Now we have to display the data since it is now in JSON format. Display user data dot results. Okay, and so display user is basically a function that we are going to define, like in what format or where to show the information taken from. So we will just make a new function, and we are definitely going to write everything inside of it. Okay, so this is the function, and data dot result is basically displays the first data. Okay, so our API will get some data, and the first one is going to be displayed over here. So we are using the index 0. So this function is basically responsible for displaying the user data on the web page. But in case there is some response or there is some network error, we can give an error parameter. If it is an error, we are going to throw error with the name of failed to fetch user. Alright, and we are going to add a keyword error, which is like used to display an error message for debugging purposes. Let's format this code a little bit, and now we will define this const user container, and inside user container we are going to get user container, and user container is going to user container is basically this one. We'll have to display all of the information here. Now we will change some HTML inside of it. So we are going to say HTML user container dot inner HTML, and inside inner HTML we are going to use some backticks to write some HTML inside of it. So it will be an image. I'll use img tag, and it must close itself. And what will be the source of this information? What will be the source of this image? The source is going to be user.picture.large. So we are going to take all of the images from the API that we are getting, and I think we must add some alt text. Alt text is basically when there is no image, then what kind of text do you want to display over there. So I'll just simply say profile picture. Let's say user.name.first it's going to be the first name, and then we are going to display the second name, user dot name dot last. Then we are going to paste the email, and email is going to have user dot email, and then we will close the paragraph tag. Then we are going to open and close another tag, and inside this tag we are going to paste a location, user dot location dot city. The next one is user dot location dot country. This looks very beautiful. Let's see if our API is still working. Just format it, go to our code. If I click on this fetch a random user, it's not working right now because I'm having some issue with this code, but I think it is a ID. Let's try now. Yeah, boom, our code is working. Say Michael Maxon. If I generate another user, it will say Nathaniel Holland email is going to be particular. Obviously, these are just some fake data just to help you understand how this async await is working. And I hope this tutorial was best for you. Right, everybody. So now we are going to start the project. Right click, go to new and create a folder. Folder with the name of password generator. I'll open it, right click again and open with code. If you can't see this option, this is because you have unselected some options during the installation of this VS Code. So you need to reinstall, and while installing you will see like add open with VS Code on right click, something like this option. Make sure it is checked and then you have to install. Let's open it, make a new file with the name of index.html actually, and this is going to be the place where we will write our HTML, one for CSS style.css, and the other one is going to be for JavaScript. It's my favorite. Let's start with JavaScript. No, let's start with HTML. Okay, now let me make a password generator, and I think we should just link all of these files with HTML. So simply go over here and I will say style.css. So now CSS file has been linked to this HTML, and app.js. No, this is not how we write this. Basically to src dot forward slash. Okay, so this is how we link our JavaScript file with the HTML. Okay, now make sure this autosave is on, so you don't have to manually press Command or Control S every time you write something and you want to see it on the browser. And make sure you have this particular extension installed. The name of the extension is live server. Make sure it is installed. And now if you press Command or Control V, you can like open and close this sidebar. I'll just simply click on go live button. Now I am live, as you can see. Password generator. Let's this tag something was open. And anyways, so I'll simply write password generator. As you can see, it is an emit abbreviation, which means if I press enter, now it has been turned into a div with the class of password generator. I'll press enter. Now the first thing is going to be h1, and it is going to be a password generator. Alright, then we will have another thing which you can say options, and inside options we have a label, one label for the length, like it will be act as a slider to choose what length of password do we want, and then it is going to be a length. The next one is going to be input field. The text is going to be type, is going to be range for this, and then the id is going to be length. Minimum should be 8, like the minimum length should be 8, the maximum should be 32, and the value of it is going to be, you can say 16, which is value is basically the default. Like if we just now check our browser, the value we can't see it at the moment, but it is actually set to 16. Oh, now the span, you can say it will just span, it is going to be the length value, and it is going to be 16. Then basically The next thing is going to be dot checks dash group, and inside the group we'll have input. It is going to be a checkbox, id uppercase, and by default it is going to be checked. As you can see, this is a 16 for this span. By default it is going to be checked. This is the input field. The next one is going to be the label, and the label is for uppercase, and the text inside the label is going to be uppercase as well. So we can check whether we want this particular condition to be true, or like we don't want it to apply. This is pretty much same, just right. So in case you are following, you do not have to like pause the video or something. So this is lowercase, and then lowercase is an input field. It should be a checkbox as well. Yes, we do not want any kind of input fields. Let me just copy this, press enter twice, paste it, press enter, paste it. Okay, so now it is still a checkbox, but the ID is going to be numbers, and this is going to be numbers, and this one is still going to be numbers. Alright, let's see. Yes, we have all these 4 things that we wanted, and below that we are going to have a button. So outside this div we are going to have a button, and the button is basically going to have a generate text in it, and below the button there should be an input field. The type is going to be text, the ID is going to be password. This is where the random password will be pasted automatically by our program. We'll just do it in a second, like in JavaScript we will make it happen, and it is going to be read only. We just can't copy it, and in order to copy it we are going to have a button, and I think we must cdn then css. Let's just copy this one. I will simply paste it over here, not like that, but link not style sheet, yes style sheet, and something like this. If I go to font or some copy icon, I can just see this regular icon. Let me just open it, and we can click on this. It has been copied. Let's close it, come over here, and I'll paste it right here. And whenever I want to click on this, like if I'm clicking on this, nothing is being shown, but I want a pop-up like we had over here. I open this again. Now you can see if I click on this, you can see this little thing. So we are going to make it with the help of span. I copy tooltip class, tooltip copied, and the rest of the thing is going to be for history. Like over here, when I click on this copy, there will be a history tab where the history will be pasted. Let's write something for it as well, just a password history. The next thing is going to be HLI password history. Okay, now it's time to write something for CSS. I think I should just copy the font. You can just copy it. Just go over here, simply copy it. Let's say reset the default. And body, we'll type something in body later. Default, let's padding to 0, margin to 0 as well, and then box size, border box as well. Right over here, if you go to this website once again, going to this shopping icon, I'll simply copy it from here, right here, and I'll paste it over here. Now make it display flex. Now you can see they are in front of each other. 800 VH. Yeah, makes sense for now. Let's just move on and see what happens next. Background color is going to be A. It is basically somewhere maybe a little darker than white. Margin, no, we don't need to add this. Okay, let's keep it here so we can see what we are actually doing. First thing is going to be password generator. It's going to be box shadow 0, 2 pixel, 10 pixel RGBA. It is again going to be 0, 0, 0 and 0.1. Now you can see a little spread behind it. Let's make it look even more beautiful. I'll add a padding of 30 pixel, width of 400 pixel, border radius 10 pixel, and background color is going to be FFF, which means pure white. Margin is going to be 20 pixel. Yeah, this kind of looks awesome. A little prominent than the background. Looks beautiful, by the way. Now give it H1. Now I'm going to apply something to this H1. We'll make it, it is like attached with something below. So first give it a margin of 0, 0, 20 pixel 0. Looks fine. Keep the text alignment to center. Yeah, it has been centered. Looks beautiful. And now we are going to, to the option sections. Now you can see this one is basically X direction to column, and gap is going to be 15. Yeah, this looks beautiful when we will increase the size of this. Let's do something to the checkboxes. For options, labels, not labels, but label, span, then options, input, not the nth of type actually, but the type equal checkbox. This is what I actually want. And then for all of this, I'm going to set margin bottom to 5 pixel. Let's keep it like this so you can actually see what is happening. Alright, the next one property is going to be for button. For button, let's give it a margin top of 20 pixel, and then padding of 10 pixel, 15 pixel. Looks so damn beautiful. Okay, border to none. The border has been hidden. Border radius is going to be 5 pixel. BGC is going to be 0078FF. Color is going to be FFF. Sir is going to be pointer. Transition is going to be background color 0.3 second. Weight percent. Looks awesome. This is exactly what we wanted, but however, color is going to be a little darker than this. We actually have to do all this. Now you can see, I think it's very dark. Let's make it less darker. Yeah, it's good actually. And I think we should give it transition as well. Transition duration about 0.3 seconds to be 5 pixel. Alright, the next one is going to be input equal text. I'm going to say make the width to 100%. Yes, please do that. Not under below, but padding is going to be 10 pixel. Looks perfect. Not padding top, but margin top is going to be 10 pixel as well. Okay, border is going to be 1 pixel thick solid. Triple C. Yeah, makes sense. I think we should just make the border a little curvy, so we are gonna say border radius to 5 pixel. Okay, now I think we should come up this to this, like that it is actually like that, but we want to hide it. It's going to be fixed. Okay, bottom 10% and left 50%, so it can be right here. Transform, translate to x-axis, and it's going to be minus 50%. Okay, let's give it a background color of FFFFF, a padding of 10 pixel, 15 pixel. Looks okay. I think we just need to position it a little bit. Border radius is going to be 5 pixel, is going to be 1s. Font size is going to be 1 rem. And yeah, what if we just move it a little bit? Okay, I think it looks better, but what if we give it a percentage of 46? It now looks in the center copied. Now I just want to make it display to be none, so whenever I click on this, only then this will pop up. Okay, I think we should write some of the CSS for the history section as well. Okay, so this is how the history part is going to show up. I'll just comment over here so you can see it's a history part. I'll say not like that, history first. I am taking history from this part actually. Box shadow going to be 0, 2 pixel, 10 pixel. RGB again it is going to be 0, 0, 0 and 0.1. You can see, give it a padding of 30 pixel. Okay, width of 400 pixel. Border radius is going to be 10 pixel. Background color is going to be FFF. Margin is going to be 20, 0. Center, yeah, looks awesome. And then for H2, keep the margin bottom, because below this the copied passwords will be shown, so I want a distance between them and the heading. Let's keep it 20 pixel only. Okay, looks fine. And since we are using UL, it will have a like a bullet point. I just want to remove it. It's not there yet, but it will be shown, so I think it's better if we just remove it. So we'll say we can even use UL and LI, but let's just password. The style type is going to be none. Go that password history. The history is going to be LI. Padding is going to be 6 rem and 0 I'll just explain why did I write all of this with the passage of time. I basically have the entire code base over here. So okay my friends, let's make this fully functional and see the complete functionality of this app. Let's start by writing document dot not query selector. Let's just make it get element by id, and it is going to be length. Let me tell you why it is length. So this is basically telling the web browser to find an element on the web page that has an id of length. And what is length? This is basically the length. All right, so we are actually making this one right now. So when I just found an element with the id of length, I'll just add an event listener to it. Let me make this a little bigger so I can see what's actually happening. And it is going to input, and we're just adding an input, then an event. Let me just explain how this whole thing is actually working. So first of all, we asked our JavaScript to find an element that has an id of length. We just found. Then I want my JavaScript to attach an event listener to the element we just found. An event listener is basically a little alarm that goes off when something happens. Here the event is input, alright, which means when the alarm goes off every time someone types something or changes the value in the input box, and the input box is basically this. So you see, it is not changing yet, but we will make it happen in a moment. The next thing is document dot get element by id, and it is going to be the length value. And where this length value is coming from, it is basically coming from this 16. So this value is now going to change. Let me make this a little bigger so we can see the entire code. So I want the inner text to change, so I'll say inner text equal event dot target dot value. So inner text is basically saying that take the text inside the value length element and change it to, and now change it to what? Change into what? So this part is basically telling whatever was just typed in the input box. The event dot target, this one, is the element that dragged the value the input box, and this is the input box actually. So we'll just see. So now you can see the value is actually changing. I think I'm on live server, but are we actually saving? Yes, we are saving. So now you can see the value is actually changing. Let's move on to the next line. The next part is actually very easy. We are going to create a function which will say generate password. The passwords are going to be const length equal to plus document. I will tell you why I am using this plus. We are using plus because the plus sign in the front of document is a unary plus operator which converts the value from a string to a number. Okay, so I'll tell you in a while what that means, but first let me get element by id, and it is going to be dot value. Okay, so this basically, so if the length element is an input field where the user can type a number, this line is taking that number and storing it in the length variable. The next line is going to be include uppercase document dot get not get animation. We are not working with animations at the moment. Get element by id, and the id is going to be uppercase, which is this one in this case, uppercase, then lowercase, then numbers, and then special characters. And we will also define later what special characters are, and I want to see if they are checked. So we'll simply type checked if it is true. So what this dot check is basically doing, so first of all this line will basically retrieve the length. Okay, so JavaScript is treating this slider as an input field. So we are using a plus operator because we want to convert this number into a string, and then we will actually be able to proceed next. And then for this one, this is basically a checkbox. If it is checked, then if the dot checked property returns true. If the checkbox is checked. Okay, so as dot value is basically taking the current value, so dot checked is basically taking either this one is checked or not. So we will just alter option shift bottom arrow key, bottom arrow key, bottom arrow key. So I'm gonna simply type lowercase and then numbers and then special. I'll simply type lowercase
include, not include, but this will actually say numbers, and this one is basically lower. I'm assuming this is lower. Yes, this is lowercase, and yeah, this one is lowercase, this one is number, this one is actually special. So let's go over here and make the text special. Now let me just define what characters we are gonna use. So now let's define what kind of elements are included in uppercase, lowercase, special, and etc. Okay, so let me declare this variable with the name of set. We are creating this with let because the value of this variable can be changed later. It's initialized as an empty string, meaning it does not contain any characters yet. So the next one is const uppercase. Characters are going to be a b c d e f g h I j k xyz. So I will just simply, so I have all the characters for lowercase, for uppercase, and for special characters. You can either manually type them or go to my GitHub repository to just copy and paste. There is no point of wasting time on this part. So the next part is basically, so now we are going to define a condition. Like, we want to see if this one is checked. If it is checked, the password generated over here will be different, and it will definitely include all of the uppercase letters. If this one is not checked, it will not include uppercase and lowercase, and it will only include numbers and special characters. So here we are defining the condition. First of all, we chose all the elements, then we defined what particular things these are going to have. You can even give it some number, 0, 001, or anything. You can like literally create anything out of the box. The purpose of this entire video is basically to teach you how to think like a developer, and I don't want you to like exactly follow each and everything. So it is going to be include uppercase. Okay, and this is basically checking if the boolean value include uppercase is either true. As you remember, the include uppercase was previously set whether the checkbox was checked or not by the user. Okay, so if uppercase character set, so what is character set? This one is character set. Okay, I'll explain more in a moment. Plus equal okay, so if include uppercase is true, which means if this checkbox is true, then the character set will include all of these values. As you know, this plus and equal to basically, if I explain it even more, this means the character set equal character set plus uppercase. This is what this plus equal to means. So for example, if all of these are unchecked, okay, so this variable, which is character set, is only going to have the values of uppercase. Okay, and what values do we have for uppercase? These are the values. Okay, so by this I mean, so let's say two of them are checked mark. So in this variable, these two values will be added. Okay, this is what it means. So I think we will have to define it 4 times: 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm definitely going to remove this. I will make it lowercase, then numbers, then special character plus minus, and we will make it lowercase, then numbers, then special characters, like that. Please have a look at your own code that you are typing from the screen, so we can make sure that we are on the same part now. Alright, now let's declare another variable, which is password, but we are not going to store anything yet. I'll tell you why. The next thing is basically a for loop, which will takes 3 parameters. The first, it tells where to start from. The second one is basically the limit that we have. If we want to keep it lower than a particular number, then we basically increments it on every on every iteration. So first of all, it is going to be let I is equal to 0, then it is going to be I greater than, I less than length, then it is going to be I plus plus. I want to increment it on every iteration. Okay, let me give you an overview of this loop. This for is the loop that runs a certain number of times determined by the value of this length. Alright, and remember, the length was set earlier based on user's input and represents the desired length of the password. So this is at the moment 16 is the length. If I give it 25, 25 is the value of this length. We have defined it earlier. Okay, then let I is equal to 0. This sets the starting point of the loop counter to 0, means the loop is going to start from absolute 0. Then we have I less than length is the condition that keeps the loop going as long as I is less than the length, as long as I is less than the length, and length is what the user chooses from here. Alright, and I plus plus means increment the loop counter by 1 each time on every iteration. I plus plus means increment the loop counter by 1 after each iteration of the loop. So now we are going to make some random password, and we are gonna use not let, because this is going to be something constant. Let random index is equal to, now I this is like the main thing of generating the password. I will say math.random, as math.random generates a random decimal number between 0 and 1, and we are gonna multiply this with character set dot length. And why am I assuming that this one is false? Because I think I have previously defined, yeah, I think we made a mistake. This should be capital. I'll simply press alt or option, keep clicking wherever you want to do, and we'll just simply S, and this one is going to be S as well. Character set, we only have these 6. Okay, so that's how you find your own mistakes, because I had these 3 little dots. This is the advantage of using this amazing product, which is obviously VS Code. Okay, so now this whole line, this basically chooses between 0 and 1, and character set dot length, this basically multiplies that random decimal by the length of character set. Okay, so whatever we defined right here, if we have 16, it will multiply that random number with the length. This is basically defining the length. So what if we get something 16.8, or let's say 188,000.200? So we want to avoid with that, so I think we must use math.floor in order to save ourselves from that problem, and a semicolon. The next line is going to be password plus equal to, now you know what this plus equal to means, character set and the random index. So now what this means, this means this line basically, did we define password somewhere wrong? Yes, we did. That was our mistake. Let me make it correct. Alright, so this line basically appends the characters that are being generated by this line of code. This line basically appends the characters generated by this line of code, which is like the random index position of character set, to the password string. That's why we kept it empty, because every time this field is going to have something new. This is done each time the loop runs, so the length, which is like the number of characters, are randomly chosen and added to the password. So I think now we want to show it over here, so we must change the value to this particular variable. Now I think we must change the value retrieved by it. Get element by id, password dot value is equal to password. Okay, now at the moment this is not working because we did not define that where we are going to execute this. So this means we have left something inside the h. If I go over here, where is this generate button? I think it's over here. I think I should add an on click, which is going to be generate password. So now if I click on this, now you can see we have some random passwords over here, but it's not showing in the history. Like if I click on this copy button, nothing is happening. Let's make an effort for it. Function copy to, so this is the function copy to clipboard. Let's make password field equal to document dot get element by id. The id is going to be, why do I misspell password every time? Okay, so now I'm going to make a function that copies this current password, that copies this on the click of this copy button. So I'm basically storing an element that the JavaScript got for me, and storing it in password field variable. Now I'm gonna say password field dot select, not area selected but only select. Select is a method that is on an input element. It selects the text within the element, which is usually to select is a method that is called on an input element. It basically selects the text within the element, which is usually used to make it easier for the user to copy the content. In this case, it is basically selects the text inside this password field, and this is the password that this select method is going to get. And as we get the password, we are basically document dot exec command, it is to copy. So now document dot exec command copy is used to copy the selected text to the clipboard. So after calling dot select to select the text in the input field line, we just select the input field password with this line of code, and then we are going to copy whatever the JavaScript just selected. Now the password has been copied. If we click here, it is copied now, as you can see. So now we can just work on the tooltip thing. Now I'll say tooltip, which I set to I can't recall it, but it is at the moment display to none. So let's make it look beautiful. Dot element by id cool tooltip dot style dot display equal to block. So now you can see the display is set to block, but I want it to be hidden after some time. So I'm just simply gonna say set time out tooltip dot style dot display equal to none 1000. So I want it to disappear after 1 millisecond. The password is here. I click on it, nothing happens. The same mistake. So I think we should have button off. I think we must add on click to this button as well, so the code can know where to execute on which click. Not cool tooltip, it's basically copy tooltip. Am I writing correctly? We must copy it and just paste it over here. I can see if I copy this, now you can see it generate. Copy this, now you can see it is basically selecting this. I can see it has been copied. The password we can basically type it anywhere. So but we still can't see this tooltip thing. Let's figure out. Okay, so we just made a mistake. It's not cool tooltip, it's basically copy tooltip. Now you can see it is here and it is disappeared after 1 millisecond. So now I want my password to be shown over here. Okay, and at the same time I want it to and the next thing is basically going to be function save to history. I want things to save in history as well. The only attribute is basically password, and this function will be used to store password in a history, but it checks if a password already exists in the history in order to avoid the duplicates. Then so we basically have two parameters. One is password and the second one is history. And if we see now, I basically want to check if it already includes the password or not. Okay, so this line is basically checking if the password parameter is already present in the history array. If password dot includes password, this is going to be history dot push dot. If the password is not there, only this exclamatory sign is basically not. If the password does not include in the password array, so we must add the password. Alright, if the password is not found in the history array, then what should we do? We should basically push the password in the history as well. Let's see, copied, still not there. Let's see over here. Now we are still not able to see the history. It is basically pushing but not displaying. We will basically display through another function, which is which is going to be function display history. Display history is going to have cause history element equal to document dot get element by id, and id is going to be password history. Okay, so I basically want to append every single password to the history. So how I am gonna do it, I will say history dot for each, every single password that I create is going to password not. Why do I spell it wrong every time? Const li is equal to document dot create element, and the element is going to be li. Okay, and li is going to have a text content, which is the password that we have declared above, and the history element we must append one child to there as well. So what this is basically doing, that this is basically creating a new li element is created and stored in the li constant. this is the li constant, and this list item will represent one password in the history. So the next line is basically the text content is basically newly created list items. Li is to set to the current password from the history array. So this is the text content of the newly created list item, which is li, and it is set to the current password from the history array, and at the end we are just appending. Okay, so finally the list item, which is li, which represents a password, is added as a child to the history element. This effectively appends each password in the history array as a list item within the history element. Clear the current history display as well. History display is going to be history element dot inner html. The inner html is going to be empty. Now we can also fetch the element from the local history. Fetch the current history from local storage, and the local storage is going to have let history equal to json dot parse local storage password history, and it will have save the updated history to the local storage. So now what we are doing here is basically adjust local storage dot set item, and it is going to have password history, then json dot stringify, and then string history. So we are basically we have basically declared a variable over here with the name of history. Then we are basically just retrieving the data from web browser's local storage. It tries to get the value associated with the and the key is password history. If no value is found, then it returns null. Either it's a value or it's null. And json.parse, this is basically used to parse the data retrieved from local storage. If there is no data, or it's the first time the user visits the page, so the local history, so this entire thing basically returns null, and these brackets are provided as a default value, which is empty array in a JSON format. And the result is that history will be an array containing previously saved passwords, or an empty array that there is no saved yet. History. Okay, so at the end we are basically finding window.onload is equal to display history. Window.onload is an event that gets triggered when the entire web page, the DOM and all of its resources has finished loading. This event is fired once when the page is fully loaded and ready for interaction. And this display.history is the name of the function. In this context, it is used as an event handler. A history display, you're telling the browser that whenever the web page is loaded, it should execute the display history function. And this is a common technique that you use to ensure that certain actions or code executed only after the page has completely loaded.
All right, everyone. So we are basically starting our tutorial. Right click, go to new and make a new folder. The name of this folder is going to be working search bar. We open it, right click again and open with code. If you can't see this option again, you need to reinstall your VS Code and check some of the options while installing your software. Otherwise, you can just simply go over here and open the folder and you can open the software. I'll say index.html. Next one is going to be style.css, and the third one is going to be app.js. Let's link all of these files together. Exclamatory sign. It is going to show us an Emmet abbreviation. Open it, press enter, and you will see the basic boilerplate. I'll say working search bar. And right over here we are going to see not container. Let's just link all of these files with our HTML. So I will say link dot forward slash, so it can search in the same folder. Style.css is our CSS file, and for JavaScript it is going to be dot forward slash html.css. It's going to be app.js actually. So now let's start writing the code. So the first one is search dash container. It is a div with the class of search container. And first of all, we are going to have an input field. The type is going to text. The ID is going to be search input. Then it is going to have a placeholder. Placeholder is going to be search. Yeah, makes sense. Let's open it live so we can see what is happening. Yeah, looks very good. Yeah, this is the default size. Press Command or Control B to close this sidebar. The next is going to be a UL with the ID of item list. Then we will have Apple, and after Apple we are going to duplicate this a few times. Let's make this apple orange, and this one a banana, and this one grapes and cherry. All right, so I think we are pretty much done with all of the things. Let's now move on to our CSS, and for CSS we are definitely going to reset everything. So the first thing is basically margin is going to be 0, padding is going to be 0, and box sizing is going to be 0. So it is just starting from the top left corner now. There is no padding and margin yet. We'll definitely make it look beautiful. So for body, I would say just if we simply go to urbanist font, as you know throughout this video I'm using this font family is going to be urbanist. Yeah, looks good. Okay, let's make it display flex. Justify content is going to be center. Then align items is going to be center as well. And then height is going to be 100 VH. And then background is going to be linear 45 degree starting #83 A4 D4 #B 6P and double F. This is going to be the gradient for the background. So it's not basically background color, but it's gradient. Now you can see what a beautiful combination of two colors. The next thing is going to be search container. Let's make the background to GBA 255 255 and the alpha value is going to be 0. Let's give it 9. Yeah, looks very much better. You can definitely change it from from here or whatever you want to keep. I am using this without any reason. So the padding is going to be 20 pixel. Fantastic. A box shadow basically 0, 10 pixel, 20 pixel, RGBA 00. Again, the values are going to be 0, 0, 0, and 0.11. Along with that, it's going to be, it looks good. Let's keep the second value. The width is going to be a 300 pixel. And then border radius is going to be 10 pixel as usual. Looks very much better. Let's give the overflow to be hidden. I don't think so we need this, but let's keep it. Search container is going to be, search container is already done. Search input, yes, it is search input. It's 100%. Padding 10 pixel, border radius 5 pixel. We'll fix it in a moment. Margin bottom is going to be 20 pixel. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, now let's play with UL and LI. UL is going to be list style type none. Border bottom 1 pixel, solid hash E2 2 transition 0.3 second. Yeah, so you have seen the transition. It looks absolutely stunning. So when I hover on the it must have a background color of let's make it a little darker. It's very dark, by the way. Let's keep it. Yeah, looks very much better. So this last one also have a border, and that's what we don't want. So I'm gonna say last child border bottom is going to be none. Wow, looks beautiful. Let me fix it. Let's keep it 92%. Looks much better. By the way, I just made a few changes, like adding this full property of box shadow, and I just added a transition. You can absolutely just copy this. There is no point of exactly explaining. Wow, let's keep it 94. Yeah, it looks much better this way. I'll just fix it later. We are just skipping the CSS part, and let's move on to the JavaScript part. Just copy the CSS from the link in the description for JavaScript. Let's take it here and we'll keep it like this. And now if I type anything, I don't see any results. So let's start writing the code line by line. The code is not very long. It is just that and say document dot get element by id, and the id is search input, because we are working, we want things to happen in the search bar. Then we are going to add an event listener, and the event listener is basically key up. This means if anyone presses a key and as soon as they release it, we are going to show them something. And what we are going to show them, it is going to happen with the function. And what that function is going to do, the function is basically, let's make a variable. We are going to use filter. The name of the variable is basically filter. Let is like, it is going to change every time, because what if the user is typing APPLE or ORE, it can be anything, so it's not fixed. So for this we are going to say this dot value dot let me explain what this dot value basically is. This is a keyword in JavaScript in this context of an event handler like the one you provided. This refers to the DOM element that triggered the event. In this case it would be the search input element that the event listener is attached to. So this means the whole search input field, the value, this dot value means this part of the code is accessing the current value of the search input element. If it's an input field, for example, like we have over here, so this dot value is basically getting the value inside this. Alright, so all of the text that we will enter into this will be represented by will be taken by this part of the code. So the next thing is to uppercase. In order to to uppercase is like a JavaScript method that converts a string to uppercase. So this entire thing, this dot value, the value has been taken to uppercase, takes the text input from the search input element and converts it into the uppercase. This thing is often done just to make the search case insensitive, meaning it will match both uppercase letter and lowercase letter. For example, even if I type AL or APLE, whatever, it will just match with the results. So then we are going to say let UL is equal to document dot get element by id item list. So with the help of this, we are just retrieving an HTML element with the ID attribute set to item list, and item list we are just getting all of this over here and it will be changed. So that's why we're using let, because we do not know what the user is going to type, so it's not fixed. So we can get the full list. For example, if user types A is also in this apple, A is also in this banana, also in this orange, so that they will get the full list in the search bar, or they can even get the single one. So a single one we are going to say document element by. For this we are going to say tag name, and the tag is going to be li. Okay, then we are going to use a for loop. They are basically going to be three values. The initial one, like how many times we have to increase, and on every iteration it will say I++, that I have told you before, but let me tell you everything once again. Let I dot equal to 0. This basically initializes a variable named I with an initial value of 0. This variable is typically used as an index to access the element in the li collection. So the next one is going to be I is greater than li dot length. Then it is going to be I++. So I is less than li dot length. This means this is a condition that will determine whether the loop should continue running. The loop will continue as long as the value of I is less than the length of li collection. In simple words, the loop will iterate through all the elements in the collection. And I++ means this is basically the increment part of the loop. It is executed after each iteration of the loop. It increments the value of I by 1. Okay, like it effectively moves to the next element in the collection. If we say it's I++, means it is increasing on every iteration. So let's write something inside of it, another variable, because it will change. So it is going to be text value equal li I. Now this means this part is accessing the li element at the current index I within the li collection. So as the value of I, which can be anything like any value typed by the user, and it will be, a part of li. So the next thing is going to be dot text content. So this property represents the text, in this case the text content of the current li element. It's like the standard property that works in most modern browsers. And in case we do not have anything inside the search bar, we will use OR operator. It is basically logical OR, and it is used to provide a fallback in case the text content is not available or empty. If text content is false, for example, it can be null, undefined, or an empty string, the code will try to use the inner text property as a fallback. So in case the user types something and it does not match with all of the, the entire list that we have over here, so in this fallback case, we'll just show the typed value just like we have it right now, li dot inner text. Okay, but if text value to uppercase, as you know, the uppercase basically helps us, avoid the case sensitivity. So in case we have matched something, like if I type a and a is matched with any of the elements that we have, the li list over here, it will show. So let's say if text dot uppercase, then we are going to show the index of. The index of is basically a method used to search for the position of the filter string within the text value string. If the filter string is found within the text value, it returns the starting position of the first occurrence. Otherwise, it returns -1 if no match is found, and then search in the filter thing and then -1. It is basically the index of, the index of method returns -1 when no match is found. So this condition checks whether the filter string was found in text value. If the result of index of, if the result of this thing is greater than -1, it means that a match was found and the code inside the if statement will be executed. So this means if we found something that is greater than -1, okay, so in case it is 0, this means we just have to show whatever we have inside the inner HTML, as I have shown you from this line of the code. If it is greater than -1, this means we have matched something and it will be shown in the list. If this condition matches, then we will say li I. Now this means this basically accesses the li element at the current index I within the li collection. As the loop iterates, the li, this thing will basically, reference each li element one by one. So we will match each list one by one. If I type a and a will be matched with this one, then this one, then it will say, okay, it matches in banana as well, then in grapes, then in cherry, don't. So if the value is greater than 1, yes, we have matched, then what will happen? This will happen. Then the style display is going to be, otherwise, if the condition is matched, then it will display the value. Else, what it is going to show us, otherwise, it is going to style.display and it is going to be none. So now what do I mean by this? By this I mean, if we find the value, it will be displayed like, as I type double P, as soon as I type it, it is shown over here because the value is greater than -1. And when it's greater than -1, what will be shown? The entire list. If it is not there, then show nothing. For example, if I say carrot, nothing is being shown except the text that we have in the inner HTML.
I'll simply right click, go to new, and I will create a new folder. And the name of this folder is going to be task. Yeah, I'll simply click, and now the folder has been opened. Now I will right click once again and I will say open with code. So you will be able to see this VS Code icon on the left side of this button. If I click on this, now the folder has been opened in VS Code. If you can't see this option, you should reinstall your VS Code, or I'll tell you another method right now. I'll say yes, trust all these files, and yes, I trust. Now the other method to open the same folder is going to be go to the file, open folder, and now you can choose this same folder. Now I hope we are on the same page. I'll simply create a new file with the name of index.html. This is going to be our HTML file where the entire structure of the app is going to be. The second one is going to be style.css. This is where our CSS file, this is where our CSS code will be written. And the last one, and the most important, which is going to make you a Superman developer, is going to be JavaScript app.js. You can name them anything you want, but these are the standard names that most of the people use, so I am using all of these. Now if you press Command or Control B, you can open and close this sidebar. I'll go to this file. I'll start writing my code, but before that, just remember, you go to file, make sure this is turned on, so you don't have to manually press Command or Control S every time you write code in order to see changes on the browser. So I'll press Shift and 1 to write this exclamatory sign. I'll press enter. Now the boilerplate has been. I'll simply give this title task app. This is not a HTML CSS tutorial, but I'll try my best to teach you as much as possible. Now right over here we will write our code, but before we do that, I think we must connect all these files together so they can work together to help us make an awesome project. So I'll just simply go over here. I'll say link. This is for CSS. I'll press dot and /, which means in the same folder. I'll choose style. Now in order to link JavaScript file with the HTML file, we will say script, and inside script we'll say src, and inside the same folder once again app.js is going to be linked. I'll simply right click and I'll say format document. Now you can see everything has been formatted beautifully. Now there is one thing. If you look at my cursor and you see right here it says go live, you may not see this option because I'm using this live server extension. For me it is enabled and installed. If it is disabled, if it is not installed in your computer, please do install so we can see our changes live on the browser. Let me tell you how it works. Simply right click, go to open with live server. Now you can see we have our app name which we set to task app. This means our server is live now. Now if let's say app 1, now you can see it has been changed without saving the code and without reloading the browser, because we set this one to autosave and now it is running live. This is the advantage of using advanced techniques in VS Code. I'll close this. Let's start writing our HTML. I'm gonna write dot container _ main. Now when I press enter, it will make it a div with the class of container main. This is because of emit abbreviation in HTML. This is because of emit abbreviation, as you can see over here. Now if I press enter, this is what you will see. Inside this I'm gonna make another container, and the container is going to be of course with the name of container. You can choose whatever class name you want, but for this tutorial we will just keep the things very simple. Inside the container, let's give the project name, which is task scheduler. I hope the spellings are correct. No, I don't think so. Alright, then we have this input container which we will write with the name of input container. I'll press enter. Inside the container we have some labels and input fields. This label is going to be for task input. This is where we will enter our task. Let's give it a class of label, and title of this would be task name. As you can see over here, we have our desired changes. Of course we are going to make it look beautiful with our CSS. The next thing is going to be input, and for this one let's use id and classes. I hope you know the difference between both of them. So since it is a input field, so we are going to use placeholder, because this is going to ask our user to write something inside of it. We'll say enter task. As you can see, this is our label and this one is our input field. Now I think we need more than one, so let's just copy this one, copy this input field. Alright, so this is going to be the text description. Alright, and the class name is going to be, let's keep it the same so we can call both of them in case we want, but the title is going to be task description. Below that, we are going to make it task area, and I think we're not going to give it columns and rows, so let's just remove this. We can even make it, the input field, but let's just explore something else. We'll call it task description, and for placeholder, let's write describe the task. Now you can see this is why we were using text area and not input field. Input field is basically static, but you can do this thing with text area. Let's move on to the next thing that we have. So the next thing is basically to help us choose a date of the task that we are going to schedule, which means when do you want the task to be done, or what is your deadline. Let's give it a label. Task date class is going to be label once again, and the title of this is going to be task date. This one is going to be an input field, but the type is not going to be text, it is going to be date. I'll show you what that means in a while. Let's give it an ID of task date. This is what date means when it is, this is what I meant by date. If we type it a text, now you can see our input field is basically a text, but we want this to be a date, so we are going to choose date, and it is a task date basically. And below is going to be the button, and the button is going to be with the name of add task. Okay, and this is going to be the area which we will use just to write about our task, and then we will press enter on the add task button and the task will be added. So we should have some space for like add task thing. So let's make a UL with the name of task list. Now let's give it an ID. It is going to be task list. Let's format the document. It is already formatted beautifully. Let's move on to the CSS of this project. I actually don't like this font, so let's import our font first of all. I'll simply go over here, I'll type Urbanist Google Fonts. I'll open this, and now you can choose any of the font. So now you can choose whatever font you want. So when you select a font, it will says remove regular 400. And when you come over here, when you click on this like shopping bag button, it will show you two things, either the link or the import link. We'll go to the import, and I'll just simply copy this link because I have a separate CSS file. If I was using CSS inside of the HTML file, I could have just copied all of this. But now as I am using this only as now I am using CSS very separately, I'll just copy all of this and go to my VS Code. I'll simply paste it over here. Now let's reset the default. I'll get a margin of 0. See, when I press enter, when my cursor is in between the text, it pushes the rest of the text to the next line. So I'll press command or control enter. So this is how only the cursor will be in the next line. This is just a small tip for you. I'll say padding to 0, and I will say box sizing to border box. Now I want my font to be this one. You can just copy this entire, or just click on this copy button and this will be actually copied. You can paste it over here, or you can just paste it inside the body tag. I'm just pasting it over it. Okay, let's do this so we can see what we are doing. So first of all, we have this main container, but first let's see if our font has been changed or not. See, our font has been changed to Urbanist. It is one of my favorite font, by the way. Not font, but we actually call it a typeface. Name, the max width is going to be 600 pixel. I don't want it to exceed more than 600 pixel, but you can just work whatever way you want it to be. More than 50 pixel and auto. Yeah, or you can just remove it, give it a display of flex, align item, center. The margin is going to be 50 pixel and auto. So you can see this is not the best practice. We are basically using the left and right margin to be 50 pixel, and this may not be the best practice, but our goal with this project is basically to understand JavaScript. So I will give it a background color of, let's say, F9 into somewhere, but it will be a shade of white. Yes, it is. The padding is going to be 20 pixel, or let's just give it 1.2 rel. Yeah, this looks beautiful. Now let's hit this heading. I want the heading to be in the exact center. I will give it a property of text align to be center. Now it has been center, but now we want to increase the space between this text and the everything below it. So I will just give it margin bottom to be 30 pixel, font weight to be 70. Let's keep it like that for now. Now we have our input container. For classes we use dot, and for IDs we use hash. So let's input container. The background color is going to be FFF, which is pure white, and padding is going to be 55 pixel. It's working and it looks very beautiful. Now you can see these two different shades. See, this is how you make the project look beautiful. Functionality can be done when you are a Superman of JavaScript or whatever language you are working with. Be so good that they can't ignore you. So the radius is actually 8 pixel. As you can see, it might not be that visible, but the corners are now 8 pixel round. Now the next thing is going to be box shadow. The values are going to be 0, 4 pixel, 15 pixel, and the color is going to be RGBA. The red is going to be 0, the green is going to be 0, the blue is going to be 0, and the alpha value, like how much do I want to spread, I think is going to be 0.1. And the margin bottom is going to be, let's keep it 2 rem. So you can see this one. Okay, you can style it whatever way you want it. Now I want all of these input field and stuff to look good. I'll just hit this task input, task description, and task date. All these three, the input fields, actually we're going to make it look beautiful. Task input, next thing is going to be task description, and the last one is going to be task date. The width is going to be 100%, the padding is going to be 1 rem, margin bottom is going to be 20 pixel. Yeah, now you can see the width is 100%, the padding is 1 rem, like the padding is something which is inside the border and margin is something that is outside the border. Just remember the difference. Okay, let's give it a border of 2 pixels solid. See, now you can see it is looking way beautiful than it was before. Let's keep the radius to, we gave it 8 pixel before this one. Let's keep it half of it. These are just some design decisions that I'm taking. I'm actually a UX UI designer as well. So the border color was like this. I don't know why it did not show me any, yeah, I think the transition is basically off 2 seconds. If we remove this, okay, let's remove this property. Let's not work with it. Okay, let's make our button look beautiful. The button is going to be padding of 1 rem. Looks very beautiful. Let's make it a little bigger. The width is going to be 100%. Looks fantastic. Let's increase the font weight. The font weight is going to be 600. It's better now. Let's give it a border color. Not border, but background color. I'll give it 1AA 7EC 7 and C. Will be something like blue. Yes it is. I don't think so we should have a border, black border. So, and the color of the text which is add task should be white. Let's make it white. The color is going to be FFF. Border is going to be none. Looks fantastic, isn't it? But we cannot hover it. Let's give it an hover effect. It's going to be button. Let's give it a little darker shade. If we hover over it and I just drag it a little bit, yeah, it is good, but it looks like way too fast. So let's give it a transition of 0.3 second. It looks very much better. This one looks beautiful. This one looks beautiful, but this one is as it is. And if I am able to find the mistake, okay, I think it should work like that. Wow, this looks fantastic. I think we should give some spaces below these buttons. So let's choose each one of them, which is, they are basically label. So if I say label, margin bottom, let's give it 10 pixel. I don't know why they are not working, but if we give it padding of 2 rem, I'm definitely making some mistake. Let's go to this. This is how you find your own mistake. Okay, this one, this is basically a label, and I'm hitting the right thing, but it's not working. And why is that? Let's find out. We give it. Now in order to increase this, either we can give either we can give margin top to this one, to basically this one, in order to like increase the spacing. So let's do it like without writing any other line of code. It is basically border on top. The next one is going to be the right, then it is going to be below, which is going to be 10 pixel, and then 0. Now you can see, let's remove this so it can work. Yes, it is working basically, but not exactly the way I want it to be. So let's make it 20 pixel and keep it 10. The top one should be 10. Yeah, they look beautiful now. Now I can write my task name, then here will be my description, and I can either choose, like you can see, I can choose any date, but I want it not to choose the previous date. As you can see, we can like definitely go to any month. I don't know what kind of calendar is that. Let's make it 2023. I can like, even go to some previous month, or I can even go to 2022 and set a date. I don't want this, because when I add task, it will have something below it, and as I have shown you, it will have edit button and it will have a save button, so let's just put a limit on it. Why is this? Okay, let me remove it. Okay, let's write some JavaScript for this, and in order to use this, let me put it over here. It is going to be document, because we want to select this particular date field, so it is going to be document get element by id, and the id is basically task, d is basically capital A. So now we have selected the date, but we want the user not to select the previous date, so we are going to hide all of the dates that are previous than today. So in order to do it, we will set the attribute. So we are going to set the attribute to minimum, minimum new date. You don't need to memorize any of this code. Just understand what I am actually doing. I just selected the date. Okay, now whatever I do, it will be done on the date. I'm setting the attribute. The attribute is going to be minimum, and this new date, it is basically, this creates a new JavaScript date object representing the current date and time. This is going to tell our code what date is today and what time is today. Okay, and then we are going to use to new date, and the date is going to be dot new date, and then it is going to be to ISO string, because we want to convert this date to an ISO date and time string. But here is the problem. When you use to ISO string, this basically converts the current date into actually this format: YYYY MMDDTH. And if I am to something like this, like these, this is like the current time, hours, minutes, seconds. We don't want it. We only want this before the T thing. We want the hours, the date, the month, and the years. So for this, let's use the split method in JavaScript. Let me complete this, and we will use split. We'll say just T before T, and we will start from the index of 0. So now this whole line converts the task date input field will have its minimum attribute set to the current date in YYYDD in this format, which means the user won't be able to select a date earlier than the current date when using the input field in the form.
Now let's see if our code is still working. What I will do is I will just go to this page, and we will see if we can select the previous date, and boom, we can't. There is no, today is 4th of November 2023, and we can't select the previous date. As the time precedes, the previous dates will be disabled. Alright, now our first duty has been done. The user can't select the previous dates. Okay, now let's create a function that will execute as soon as we click on this add task. So let's go over here, and we'll say function, and the name of the function is going to be add task. Okay, so inside the add task, either you can declare all these, retrieve the variables on the top,
but let's keep it inside the function. I'm going to use const because I don't want the values to change. Task name. All right, so let me tell you what are the things that we are going to choose. We are going to choose task input, task description, and task date. This is what we want to show when the task is added. When we click on add task, everything will be added right here, as you have seen previously in the project demo. I'll simply say document dot get element by id, and this is going to be task input, and it is going to be value. Now this dot value means the current value in the input field, like whatever we type here will be copied to this variable, and then it will be added in our scheduled tasks. I will just copy it once again, select all. I'll press alt or option shift and bottom key twice. This is just to duplicate the line. I'll call it task description, and right here I'm gonna call it task description dot value. We are going to retrieve all of the three values. This one is going to be task date. This is going to be task date as well. Now we are going to use a conditional execution. It will check either both, so you may do not want to add any kind of description. So we are going to make two things very important: the name of the task and the task date. Without these two, the user won't be able to add a task. Even if task description is missing, it is absolutely okay. I'll say if task name and task date, because I want these two things to be necessary. I'm gonna declare another variable right here, const task list. Let's keep it capitals, the camel case thing. We'll say document dot, we're going to use this one. You will just know what that is in a moment. Say get element by id, and the id is going to be, what was the id? Task list. Let's just copy it from here. I'll simply put over here tasks. Now this is going to be const li. Now we want to add our input fields through the JavaScript. Like what are the fields that we are going to see, because there will be a save button and edit button. Okay, now I'll say const li. Li is the name of the variable. You can choose it whatever you want, but since you're following my tutorial, so I think you should be using the same. So const li document dot create element. Now the element that we are going to create will be li, and inside this li dot inner html. The inner html is going to be a little complex in looking, but I will explain it in a way that it won't be difficult for you to understand. Let's just press like these two backticks. Actually, you can find it under the escape button in case you are not using a different layout of the keyboard. So I'll just start writing. I'll say span, and inside the span I'm gonna give it a class which will be let's call it task name, which will be added right here. And okay, we have to add it inside the class name because this is the class, and we're going to make it like the strong thing, task. We will visually see how it looks like. Now just if you know HTML, this is a super easy thing for you. So it is strong, and then the closing brackets. Okay, and then we are going to use span once again. This is not something you should be confused about, because this is a very simple, just a part of HTML. Let's call it class editable field. Let me make this screen a little bigger so we can see a lot more. And what kind of value are we going to store over here? The value is we are going to use template literals, $, opening and closing curly braces. So the value is going to be task name. Okay, so this is where we will put our task. I just accidentally pressed Ctrl X, which is to cut the line, not like that, but I'll just copy this from here and I'll paste it right here. So this is where our line will be added. Now let me just copy it and paste twice. Alt or option shift bottom key and bottom arrow key. So I will just edit this name from here, description and task date, and same exactly I'll just copy it from here. I'll just paste it over here. This line of code will basically take the current value which we have here, and how it will actually catch the current value. It is going to be with the help of dot value attribute that we are using, and right here it is going to be task date. Let me format the document a little bit. Yeah, it's looking good. So now we will have a task list right here. Then we will have task name right here. Then we will have a task description. If we have any value, if this line of code is taking any value, if user is leaving this empty, we won't take any value from here actually. And the third one is going to be task date, which is very important. The next thing is going to be a save button, an edit button, and a delete button actually. So let's just make two buttons, button/button. This is not giving me any kind of the emit abbreviation, but it's okay. In interviews we sometimes have to write on paper, or they will just turn off pretty much everything to see your skill level. It does make sense for some people, and for some people it does not. So I'll give it a class of edit button, then I'll give it an on click, like what should happen if I click on this button. So I'm gonna name it task edit, and it's going to be this is actually the name that we will use after some time. Like I will actually explain what this on click is doing. So we will use this name in order to call this whole button, like on clicking. This is something we are gonna explain, and on clicking the button something will happen, you will just see. All right, so it should have an icon. Let me just go to font, awesome CDN. I'll just simply go to this. Let me just, which one basically starts from .kit. I'll simply copy this and we'll go right here, and we have to paste it in our head section. But there is one more thing that we have to do. What is this add task? When I want this to perform, I basically want it to perform when we click on add task. I'll say on click add task. Yes, so on clicking this button, this whole thing, this whole function will execute. Now you must be able to understand what these buttons are doing. So on clicking this is what we will define after some time, and you will be able to see what this will actually do. So now let's go to font or icons. Simply go to the icons part and let's find some edit. Simply type edit, and I think we must use this one. This is actually free. I'll simply click on it, so it has been copied. Close it, go to your JavaScript part, and inside the button paste this. So this is going to be the content that we will see in our button along with the edit button. All of what kind of spacing they are going to use, what kind of padding they are going to use, what kind of alignment they are going to use, we will type all of these in our CSS right here. As you have seen, editable field, it's a class. We are going to type it like that, editable class, and then it will have some properties. Okay, so don't worry about it. We are going to define each and everything. Okay, so the second one is going to be the pretty much same. So I'll just click over here. I'll simply edit button, so I'll call it a delete button. I'll say delete task this, and this icon is something I want to change. I'll simply call delete, and let's see what kind of result it shows me. I think we can use this one, solid trash k delete. So now we want to append everything. By append I mean now we must append this newly created fields to the li. Li is going to have all this content, but we must append it. And how do we append? Let's say task list dot append. Append is going to have an li. Li is basically this one. This effectively adds the task entry to the list of tasks displayed on the web page. Overall, if I explain it to you now, overall this whole field is basically adding a new task entry to a task list displayed on the web page, provided that the we had two conditions, which were task name, which was necessary, and the task date, which was necessary, have values. It creates an list item which is with various HTML elements for displaying task information and buttons, the edit button, and then the delete button. Okay, now let's see if it is even working. Go over here. I'll simply say my task. My task description is here, and I simply choose tomorrow because tomorrow is Sunday. Let's click on add a task. It is not working because we have to define the whole if or else because it is going to have these two. Otherwise, let me complete this and then we will see. Once the items are appended over here on this section, I want all of these fields to go empty. Like when I click on this add button, add task button, I'll see some of the task assigned right here as I've shown you in the project introduction. So I want these tasks to these fields to go empty. How do I do that? I'll simply just copy all of these down here. I don't want to store them anywhere. Just simply click on this format button. I'll just remove. You can just click anywhere, and if I press Alt or Option and then click anywhere again, it will give me two cursors. Now I'm simultaneously able to control two lines at the same time. ID. So let's remove. So you can see value and value. These are going to have, yes, it is going to have a value of nothing. So this is how we will empty the fields. So now I think there is something that we need to declare over here. I want to sort every task. Like if I'm doing something tomorrow, it should be on the top. If I'm doing something the day after tomorrow, it should be after the task of tomorrow. So for that, I need to declare a function with the name of task sort task. I'll define it a little later. Let's comment it out. Sort the task, adding tasks after adding them. And now there is going to be another condition. What if we don't have these two parameters fulfilled? I'll say else give it an alert. You know what alert means? Alert will just give you a thing and you will say it will please kill in the task and hide bonus required. Now if I type raise task description and date that it was held on. Let's keep it 16 that I want the task, like my deadline is actually 16. If I click on add task, it's not happening. Why is that? And that's because we haven't added the full. This is how you add a function. Now if I say raise card, now let's say I say grocery shopping, and the next thing is going to be buy everything you have to eat for Jimmy and your relatives. Okay, now if I choose a date, and now you can see we can't choose a previous date, and now boom, we have this edit button, a delete button as well. We are definitely going to give them a color. Since why they are blue, because we have used where is the CSS, yeah, because we are giving a color of blue, background color of blue to the button. Now we will later add CSS to these particular buttons. Now you can see I neither can edit this nor I can delete this. So let's say I just reload this page. Information has been gone. I'll say raise task, the description. I do want to leave it empty to see if it even works, because over here we have this condition that we have to check either the task name and task date. If these two conditions are fulfilled, we are going to execute all of these code. Okay, but in case it is not working, I just added this. I don't know if it was even recording or not, but I just added this line in order to just to explain it a little bit what this code is actually doing. Comments are very important, by the way, and else is going to have in case we cannot meet these two conditions. So this one is empty, this one is fulfilled, this one is fulfilled. Yes, the task has been added but without description. Okay, we will have to remove this as well, this dot. We'll just eventually do it with CSS. What if nothing is being fulfilled? And just clicking on add task button, and please fill in the task and date fields. Where it is taking? This is the alert message that we are seeing over here. Boom, this works awesome. Let's move on to the next part of the code.
Now let's add. Now I want the edit button to have something to execute. I will just simply say function. Let's write another function edit task, and edit task going to have a button K. This function is defined with a single parameter, which is btn element, which is expected to be a reference to the button element
that triggered the edit action. This allows the function to determine which task is being edited based on the button click. This means, for example, if we have multiple edit buttons, which one is going to edit when we click on edit button. So this is why we have this parameter inside the bracket. Inside the function, we first have to find the parent element of the button element, which is this parameter. Let me explain it a little more. I will just say btn element dot parent element. Okay, so now this will basically find the parent element of the button element, which is this attribute, or you can say this one. This parent element should be an li element that represent the task in the task list. Okay, so we are going to close it in li. So this will basically edit this in entire field. And now, okay, so if I will raise, I give it a date of, let's say, today, edit. Now if I click on edit, it should have a button of delete and save. So I'm gonna make it look like that. So let's say const is going to have an element, btn element. Okay, so this button is, we're going to change the inner HTML of this page, and we are going to make it includes just the save button, and whenever this button is clicked, edit, whenever we are going to click the button which is edit, it is going to give it an option of save, because after editing our task we are going to save it. So we must need a button which is save. Now we are going to declare 3 variables, and we are going to store something inside them. Task name field, alright, and they will have, let's call it query selector, because we will be choosing multiple classes, and they will be task name and dot editable field. Why editable field? Because we are going to get these 3 over here: editable field, and editable field. And the task name is going to be retrieved from the class right over here, and the task name is going to be achieved from here. And we are going to add this in our li means like this one. On clicking the edit button, so this is how it will execute. On clicking the edit button, this will simply edit all of these fields, because we are calling these fields over here using this. Okay, so we'll say const task description field equal to query selector dot task description, and the other thing is going to be as it is task field. So let me show you how it will work. I'm just simply gonna type anything. So now you can see I can't edit these. Okay, on clicking the edit button, all of these will turn into editable fields like this one. Okay, so this is what we're trying to achieve. Task, the third one is going to be task date value selector, task date and editable btn. It's not actually button, it's still a field. All of these names of the variable basically refers to the element with the class editable field within the task name section. All of these is basically trying to refer to this particular part. Okay, btn element dot inner HTML, and it will have the edit icon. Let's take the edit. I think we should take it from right here. Simply just copy it and just paste it right here. Okay, so this is what we have done. Okay, so now there is one thing. So now the input fields has been done. So if it is editing, do something, and if it is not editing, now I want to update. Now if I click on this edit button, I will have all these fields. Now I can enter anything, and upon saving, so I want it to update. So let me see how do we do that. Okay, so if it is editing, let me just tell you how would we do that. Task name field, which is basically this one, because now it is going to edit, so I want it to be stored as well. Like I want the values to be updated. Going to have inner HTML task name field dot query selector. It is going to have the input field. It is basically choosing the input of what we just edited. I will say raise, and I'm gonna give it a value. Now if I click on this edit button, all of these will behave like this, and then I want newly entered value, which is going to be like, will have input fields on this section of the page. Okay, so I want that to be, I want the values inside those fields to be here. Okay, so this is going to be that, this is going to store that value with the help of a dot value attribute, whatever value we have in the input field. Let me copy this because we want value to be for all of them. Let me just edit this name, task name. I'm gonna name it description, and then I'm gonna name it date value. Let's copy this one and we'll do it here. Instead of writing the whole thing, let's copy it and paste it over here. Now it will take all of the new updates that we will type, and then on clicking save, all of the values will be taken from here. We basically do not want this to be here. Let's just cut it and paste it over here because we want the button to be here, or else the logic, if we are not doing that, it is going to, so in case the is editing button is false, this means the button is in save mode. So what do we mean by save mode? Like the button is already saved. And what do we do that? Like what if the user do not change anything? So in that case, we are going to const value. It is going to be task field text content, and we are going to use this. Basically the code retrieves the text content of like the text name value of the text name field, text name, text description field, and text date field element, and trims any leading or the trailing white space, and stores these values in the respective places which are going to make, we are going to make over here. Const, I think, wait a stream, I should just remove this one. We simply copy it from here and then we paste it right here. Task description, not value, but just the field. And then over here we are going to have the same thing, task description field. Okay, and then in case we want to delete, we must declare a function in order to delete something. Okay, so let me add one more thing to here, which is going to be like when I click on the edit button, all of the input fields should have what we already entered. By this I mean if I enter something here and it is already in the task, so when I click on edit button, the fields that I'm going to edit should have all the text that I added before. So for that I'm going to when document display, I will say document and that HTML should have the input field, and I want all of this input field to be inside the backtick. Side is back. I want this type of text, and the value is going to be the class is back. Let's just copy all of this, paste it over here, and then we follow as initial the description field and the value and the date field what, and then I want the button of HTML dot inner HTML. The inner HTML is going to be the save button. Let me find the same button for you. Let's just this is actually in download. With this, I don't know which one should I use. Let's put on this copy this one. It should have the save text along with it. Then we are going to a function that must delete things. Function, this is going to be a super easy thing, delete task, and it will slide on the button as well. BT element dot parent element dot remove. Let's see if all of this even works. I will say my task one, my description one, and the date is going to be of today. A task one, it is not working, and the reason being is hello task one. The description one, it is going to be if I click on edit, I have now I can edit the input fields. Sounds very good. And if I click on this save button, it is still saving me the things. Now you can see it is still at task one. So this is basically with the help. So I just recommend that remove the redundant labels in these lines. Alright, everything is pretty much working. Even let me do one thing. Is delete button working? Yes, it is. Okay, Now I want to sort the task based upon the date. So I'll just simply go function sort tasks points task list equal document dot. This is pretty much simple. So ID we're going to choose by ID, and the ID is still going to be the task list because everything will be based upon this. And now the main thing starts from here. Now we are going to, we are going to write array dot from, because it is going, where do we want the list to come from? It is going to be from task, and it is tag name. You can pretty much do anything you want. I think this, and then this basically selects all the li elements. The li elements are like the task items within the task list container, and converts it into the node list, converts the node list, like which is the li list, into an array. This array will represent all the task items in the task list. So we are not done yet. Let's just sort them one by one. So we will basically just sort them like that. They use sort. The sort will have two parameters, a and b. Let me explain what do we mean by sort. Let's first understand what sort is. Sort is basically a method used to sort the elements of an array in a place. In this case, it is sorting the array of the tasks, and the tasks that are being added by us. A and B basically defines a comparison function that takes two elements, A and B, from the array as arguments. Okay, these elements are the task item being compared during the sorting process. What do I mean by it? For example, I say task 1 is being added on for Saturday. Okay, let's create it today. Task has been added. Now what's the next thing? The next thing will be task 2. Okay, so the task 2 will be on, let's say, 30, and I click on task. Oh, you can see 11. Yeah, now you can see today is 4. We have added next on 30. What do you think? If I assign a task 3 and the date is 15, where do you think it is going to place it? In between. For now, it is in the last, but that's why we are sorting the elements. And AB is basically going to the it is a whole array, and now we will be comparing this one with this, and we will sort it, and then this one will with this, and this will basically be a and this is going to be the B. So it will basically compare A with B, and then it will sort the whole item list. So this is what A and B are. Okay, so they are going to be the new date as I talked previously. A dot query selector, and the query selector are going to be task date on editable field, and we are basically going to let me just explain with me to text content. So what this actually doing is, this will basically, we will just, so I have written all of this over here. Okay, so we have this minus sign. So let me tell you what this will do. The comparison between this new date, which is A, minus this is actually B, subtracts the date object representing the date of the task A. Okay, so this will minus the date of the first task that is being compared from the second one, and now it will check which one is basically true. So task date is being selected, and the editable field, which field we are actually being in touch with. You can even, I think you can even remove this if you want to. I have just added it to explain things even more. So this basically said these two comparison basically subtracts the date object representing the date of the task A from the date object representing the date of the task B. The result of this subtraction will determine the order of the two task items in the sorted array. If the result is negative, it means the task date of task A is earlier than the task date of task B. So A should come before and B should come after. And this is how they will work. But we are still not done yet. We need to operate this on each one. So we are going to use for each is going to have an arrow function, task list append child li. So now over here what we have basically done is that for each is a method used to iterate through each element of an array. Li is basically a parameter representing each element in that array. like every assigned task like which we had over here, it just removed because we just updated our code. Okay, this is basically the arrow function, and this is the task list on which we want the operation. This is basically this is a function that is applied to each li element during the iteration. It appends the li element to the task list container. So I think the explanation was pretty much. I do have a, what do I say, I do have a documentation down in the description, but let's just I don't think so. Now if I say task 1 and I go over here and I just simply say Saturday, add task, edit. Now I just want to save. Okay, task. Now if I choose today, it is going to be on the top. As you have seen, we just added this one after the first one, but it's on the top because we are checking because we are checking the date. This one is basically A and this one is B. In this case, this will compare both of them. Okay, so it will know which one should come on the top, and with the help of for each operation, in case we have so many tasks, so this will basically assign it according to the date. So let me just make it a little beautiful. Like I click on this edit, I want to make all of these things very beautiful. Let me just go to my code and I'll come over here. I will say and just do it like that. So I can see where is the edit and delete button. I think I will edit over here, edit button, and the other one is going to delete button. And for that we're using, I think we should do both differently because color of for each one is going to be different. I'll just simply say background color to be FF1A 500 and the color is going to be FFF. Let's give it a hover effect as well. BGC, we can even use this. It is going to be a little darker. Let's keep it E68800 and the delete button will be actually red to indicate like something dangerous. DC3545 and color is going to be FFF. Okay, delete BTN. That hover, this will have a background color of C82333. Let me quickly write all of the CSS for the rest of the code. I'll just show you in a while. Now I have added nothing but CSS to the editable field, the input area, the text field, and editable text area. I can even take all of this and paste it over here. Now this is nothing. I have edited this. This is nothing but just an addition to make my project a little beautiful. Now you can see the input fields are much better. Let me just okay, and something that I want to do with this padding is already 0. Let's keep the style to none. Yes, I think we are done. Let's just increase the spaces between both of them. Let's save it. I think we must increase the spaces between the buttons. I'll just go come over here. Margin, the top one is going to be 0. It's not, it shouldn't be RAM. I wanted to make it pixel. Is 10 pixel too much? No, that's not what I want. The bottom, oh, it's still not one, not even one, right? I want it to be 10 pixel. Let's copy it. Let's paste it. It is looking way much better. Now if I can edit, I want to edit something. Okay, it looks as good as it can be. Wow, just wow.